Well, that's how Britain left. What about joining? As Britain closes the door on Europe, other countries are trying to kick it down and to get into the European Union. Serbia has been in the process of accession since 2005 and hopes to be a member by 2020 or perhaps 2025. Joining me is Vladimir Krulj, who is the president of the Komercijalna Bank and Serbia's chief economist for EU accession. Welcome to you. Why is it that Serbia wants to become part of the EU?
Firstly, I was a former for EU accession, but I just want to say for purely pragmatic reasons. You know, 2/3 of total trade goes with the countries of EU. If you want to be graded up on the list of the credit list, you know, you basically have to fulfill all the criteria which are important for European markets. And for Serbia, the biggest market, as probably for everyone, is European markets. You know, more taking those steps in a concrete form towards fulfilling the criteria of joining EU, more we are interesting for potential investor, more economic growth and wealth we bring into our nation.
So given those arguments, do you understand or have any sympathy at all with Britain's decision to leave the EU?
Well, it's hard to compare Britain with Serbia. We're talking about big country and country which are not that big, you know. So everybody looks from its corner. Our corner is definitely to progress more in terms of economic growth. Former Prime Minister, now President Vučić, said very clearly that his intention is basically to moving up the living standards of average Serbian people, that bringing the employment to youth. Now we brought down the unemployment to the lowest possible rate as in the last 20 years, and making the economic growth faster. It's very pragmatic.
Now, you're an economist. Obviously, you see the economic arguments. What about the political arguments? I mean, as it were, wedding Serbia to the west rather than to the east, perhaps having certain guarantees about the standard of democracy. Are those important too? Very
important. Everything is going around political institutions, and this is important basically to adopt those all important things such as the rule of law, which are very close to European values. Then again, when we're talking about Maastricht criteria, which are economic criteria, we're again talking about institutions. So building up institutions and building up capacity in institutions at the level of the European Union can be just another pro for basically coming closer.
What about Russia, though? Because Serbia has long, close relationships with Russia through the Orthodox Church and other things. Sergei Lavrov was visiting Serbia recently, and some complaints that he didn't give a proper news conference. I mean, will Serbia ever be able to escape the Russian influence, if you like?
Well, it's not a question of escaping or not escaping, just a question of pure pragmatism. As I said, Serbia clearly chosen the European path. You know, all friends are supporting the Serbian path.
The Russians presumably not very happy, are they?
Well, what we learned from Mr. Vučić is that Serbia is clear about its path, you know. So, you know, and I think that all friends who are real friends of Serbia will support this path.
And on the question of the political dimension, if you like, there are now considerable tensions between the European Union, between Brussels and Poland. There are also tensions with Mr. Orban in Hungary. Do you feel that the European Union now does offer those sort of guarantees of ensuring democracy, freedom of speech and all the rest that it used to, given the direction in which Hungary and Poland and some would say Czech and Slovakia are heading?
Well, if you look association, absolutely. On the other hand, it's very important to say that basically that it's good to have a level of democracy to bring up, you know, everyone to say what it needs to say. Again, what is important to Serbia is to look upon its way, to look upon its future, and basically to fulfill their goals.
And 2020 or 2025? It's looking more like 2025, isn't it?
What we heard recently from Mr. Juncker is that Serbia will be fully capable to fulfill all the criteria until 2023, which means that Serbia may eventually join to EU by 2025.
But you wouldn't be members of the Euro right away, is that right?
No. First, you just have to join the European Union, and then you go to the Schengen zone, basically, and you go to the Eurozone, which is another step. But the difference is that we want to join European Union as a country without economic problems.